On this episode of the Naturist Living Show, a Naturist family vacation.
This episode of the Naturist Living Show is brought to you by Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park. At Bare Oaks, we offer traditional naturist values in a modern setting. Free your body, free your mind. www.bareoaks.ca.
Welcome to episode number 23 of the Naturist Living Show. My name is Stéphane Deschênes. I'm your host for this episode and the owner of Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park. And yes, this is episode number 23. And I want to thank you, all you listeners out there, because you keep listening and more of you are listening every day. And I really appreciate it because I don't make much money at this. Well, I don't make any money at this, really. But I do get something out of it. I do get the appreciation. But this winter, I got a little bit more. And this is my disclosure. I took a vacation. And I took the vacation to Cypress Cove as a family. In fact, myself, my wife, my two kids, and another family decided to go down to Florida. And we picked a naturist club that we really like that is very much in tune with our values for naturism and the values of naturism. In Cypress Cove. But because the Naturist show is so popular, I proposed to get a little something back from the owners for featuring them on this show. So I want to thank you, all of you, for listening because you did help me get my vacation last winter. So yes, last April, we decided to take a family vacation. And we invited our friends, Peter and Anne, and their son and daughter, obviously, to join us on a vacation. And we did what I've always wanted to do, but never did. We drove to Florida. You know, it's growing up, it seemed like everyone we knew were driving to Florida and doing Florida vacations. And still, even today, a lot of people do a winter vacation driving to Florida. It's much more economical than flying when you have a lot of kids. So, but I had never done it. I had never done the drive. I had flown a few times, but I had never done the drive as a family. So we took it one step further. We actually managed to put all 8 of us, 4 adults and 4 kids, into one minivan, a Honda Odyssey that seats 8 people. And of course, you know, because we're naturists, we don't pack as much. We were going to Florida. The weather was going to be nice. It was April, so we were pretty much guaranteed some heat, even though last winter was actually a very, very cold winter in Florida. But by April, it was hot, and being naturists, we didn't need a lot of clothes, and so we managed to pack it all. The Odyssey is actually a very impressive van for space. Sure, some of the kids were young and small, but still, we managed to get everything we needed for the 2 families, and Peter brought his guitar. So we managed to get it all inside the van. No car top carrier, although that was an option. We didn't need it.
Well, we're off to Florida.
Yay!
And we did it in basically one day, 24 or so hours, of nonstop driving. That may sound horrible, but things are different today than they used to be, and kids have lots of entertainment option. The Odyssey, it was an ARF van. It was Peter and Anne's van. Their Odyssey is equipped with the pop-down DVD player, and Peter had spent the time to wire in the Wii console into the DVD system as well. So the kids had the options of watching a whole bunch of movies we brought, of playing Wii together on the console on the DVD screen, or playing their own personal Nintendo DSs, and of course sleeping, because we left on Friday night and we drove through the night and we arrived in Florida on Saturday. Now, that would seem like a lot of driving, but the 4 of us took shifts. 2, 3, 4 hours each, and then we'd switch and the others would sleep. And so it was actually quite manageable, and I think we'd do it again. So we left Ontario just after dinner on Friday evening, and we quickly crossed the border. Crossing the border is not a very long distance from most parts of southwestern Ontario. The customs agent did ask where our luggage was. We didn't actually say we were Naturist. We just said we had a very roomy van. But the fact was we had very little luggage because we didn't need the clothes that most people needed. But with a few simple questions, we were on our way, and down the highway we went. Most of the travel was through the night, and we arrived in Florida about midday the next day.
Here we go. Here comes mile 0 Florida State Line. 3, 2, 1. Yay!
How many hours has it been?
Hours.
Too many.
Loads. We've gone
17 hours and 22 minutes.
Yes, we've gone 1,087 miles.
Wow.
119 miles left.
So yes, getting to the Florida border took us 17 hours and 22 minutes. So that was, about 1,750 kilometers, or as we said, 1,090 miles. Of course, we still had 325 kilometers to go, or 200 or so miles, which is about 4 hours without stopping, to get to the Kissimmee area just outside of Orlando. And Cypress Cove was great for a number of reasons, one of which was it was near Disney, and part of our plan was to visit Disney 2 of the days. But also, Cypress Cove is a true resort. It's a true resort. I mean, people sometimes talk about Bear Oaks as being a resort, and I really avoid using that term. I think that's an overpromise. To be a resort means to be a pretty large place with lots of people, lots of accommodation, lots of permanent rental accommodations, rooms and chalets and that kind of thing, and amenities and restaurants that are open all the time. And while we have a little bit of all that in Bear Oaks, I think to call it a resort would be truly a stretch. But Cypress Cove truly is a resort. There is a residential section. There are members that are year-round. But the resort has a number of rooms for rent. We had a wonderful setup, actually. We had a full apartment. It worked very well for 2 families because we were able to work and cook together. And the kids all slept in one large bedroom, which is sometimes a separate bedroom. On its own, it can be rented. It has 2 queen beds. But that has a connecting room to the full separate 1-bedroom apartment next to it, which has its own living room and kitchen. So the connecting room meant that we had 2 full separate bedrooms with a total of 4 queen beds. The adults decided to sleep in one room and put the kids in the other so that we could put all the kids to bed at night and still stay up and play cards and chat and watch TV. And just relax. And the kids, of course, enjoyed having their own room and having fun on their own. And it was a little challenging putting them to bed at night, but they had a good time. But that layout did allow us to make all our meals together. We were able to get up in the morning and cook breakfast. And
What's for breakfast?
Well, bacon and eggs today.
Nice.
It's a commonly held misconception that you do not fry bacon in the nude.
Yeah, you are nude and you're frying bacon. Doesn't it hurt?
Well, bacon tastes much better. Yes, I'm using a spatula rather than my fingers or any other body part.
That's good. You should not flip bacon with your bare fingers.
No. But actually, it's a commonly held misperception that you should cook your bacon hot. Bacon tastes much better, and I think is fried more thoroughly when cooked under a medium temperature, and you don't get splattering. I got a couple of splatters on my wrist, but the rest of my body seems to be fine.
Well, you don't generally wear clothes on your wrists when you're frying bacon anyway.
Perhaps I should.
Maybe you should. Yeah,
Yes,
it's your wrist
I
that
know.
should be covered.
They should invent a wrist bacon device
That's
to
right.
protect your wrist whenever you are making bacon.
And in fact, I see just standing here, that really none of the bits, as people like to say, are above the pan anyway.
Yes, none of the bits are touching the pan or above the pan, so the bits seem to be fine.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes the children.
We were able to get ready and save money on meals. We did eat in a restaurant a couple times, but we were able to really have a very affordable vacation. Obviously, the trip down was not very expensive since we only had to pay for one vehicle and the gas for that vehicle. And because we shared accommodation, that made it more affordable. Because we could make our own meals, it was even more affordable. So it was a very reasonable family vacation. It was also fun living as a community because living as a community, I mean, in a naturist environment, because everything we needed, there was a small store, there was a restaurant, we had our very comfortable accommodations, but we could live a true naturist life for a change, except for when we went to Disney a couple of days, of course. But in general, we lived clothes-free very comfortably because of the weather, and very comfortably because of the environments, and the kids could play and go to the pool and go in the street and do everything that they would at home in our houses, except we were truly living a naturist life for that week, and that was interesting. It's amazing how quickly you're so comfortable, so used to it, that the few times we had to go out putting on clothes really felt foreign and felt like a chore. When you've truly lived for several days that way, you can really tell the difference. And Cypress Cove is a beautiful place because it's family-oriented, because their values are much more naturist than other places. Well, not all places, than a lot of other resort places. They have... there's still people there that seem to be more interested in clothing optional and that don't quite get it. But it's a large place with lots of people, and that's to be expected. But in general, they expect people to be clothes-free around the pool and in most of the public areas. But to us, it is a naturist place because there's families, because there's things for kids, because there's no activities that are inconsistent with naturist philosophies. And by that, I mean, there's other resorts that have gone much more adult into all types of sexualities and partying that just doesn't fit with naturist, the naturist philosophy. And even if they had offered us free room and board and flights down, we wouldn't have gone because they wouldn't have been appropriate for the children, of course. And if it's not appropriate for the children, it's probably not appropriate for us if we're really looking for a vacation where we can feel that we're living the naturist life. Cypress Cove, besides having the accommodations, also has a campground, so people who want to camp can do it. There's a lot of beautiful RV spots where are well serviced. People come down for the whole winter as well. And I mean, I say it's a family place and they have family activities. In the winter, there weren't a lot of kids. There were other kids there, but there weren't a lot of kids. There was a lot of retirees. I understand in the summer there are more kids because it's not everybody who can afford to go away down south. And when those who can afford don't all go necessarily during the same week. We didn't go during one of the March breaks or reading weeks or any of those because it would have been a little too busy, and we decided to go when there was a little bit more space and time. But what makes Cypress Cove a resort with a naturist theme is the lake. Cypress Cove has a lake that where basically I don't think they own all the way around, but there is nothing else around the lake, and they own a good part of it, if not most of it. And the lake is beautiful and natural. There's a beach and there's wildlife, and you really feel nature there. And we canoed all the way around several times, and canoes are available for use. We saw big turtles and all kinds of birds and blue herons and frogs and things, and of course, alligators. I'm told that in Florida there is no body of water without alligators. And I'm happy to report that we swam in the lake and we never saw them anywhere near the beach because apparently they don't really like people and they'll stay as far away as possible. And sure enough, we did manage after a lot of effort and going to the very far end of the lake to see alligators. But they didn't let us get very close before they disappeared underwater. So as long as you leave them alone and you don't feed them and you don't play with them, apparently they want to stay as far away from us as we want them away from us as well. So that seemed to work out well around. But it was a beautiful natural experience. And I'm not sure if a naturist life without nature is possible. And that's something that we really value, and that's something we really enjoy. And the pool is beautiful. We spent a lot of time by the pool. We really enjoyed the pool. The pool at Cypress Cove is truly set up like a resort. There's actually two pools, the older pool, which is smaller, and the new pool. The new pool is massive, very much like something that you'd expect to see in a resort in the Caribbean. Surrounded by a number of small huts with different amenities. There's one that's a health fitness club where you can work out and do weights and do the machines. There is another one which is a store that sells a lot of things, and ironically, of course, clothing. There's another one that has a kind of community center. There's another one with games and a little library. There is a massage where you can get a massage hut. There's a little massage hut, cabin around the pool where you can get a massage. And there's another one that houses a hairdresser. And we did get haircuts. Several of us got haircuts while we were down there. That's always nice. Getting your haircut nude is nice because, you get the little hairs getting down your neck and at the back, and you don't have to worry about that because it just slides down your back and you just jump in the shower afterwards and it's all gone. So I always enjoy getting my haircuts nude whenever I get a chance to, although that's not a common thing, unfortunately. We don't have a hairdresser or a barber at Bare Oaks yet, but maybe someday. And there is also, of course, Cheeks. Cheeks is the bar around the pool. When the main restaurant is not open, they serve a fairly full menu of all kinds of things, and they have all the mixed drinks and everything you want. Good afternoon. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
So what's for lunch today?
Well, there's the specials, and here's the menu.
Hot pastrami. How's that good?
Hot pastrami on rice sounds very good.
Okay. Yeah, we sold quite a few of them already. We wouldn't know it now, but we were quite busy earlier today.
They came in at the right time.
Yes, you did.
So I think we'll have 2 hot pastrami's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah?
Chips, fries, potato salad, or coleslaw, no charge.
Oh, I'll have coleslaw.
Coleslaw for me.
All right, 2 of the same.
And do you want a drink?
Oh, we'll have to get something different. Like what we don't have, like not beer.
I have a pint of Yingling with that, please.
Okay, maybe beer then. Yingling, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have a Yingling too, please.
And it's a nice central spot where you can get that real getaway. We enjoyed our pina coladas sitting by the pool, watching the kids have a good time in the water. It was nice. It was wonderful, really. One of the most interesting parts about Cypress Cove, actually, is this subdivision area. There's a whole area that is very permanent houses with paved streets and curbs and fire hydrants and homes and beautiful landscaping because, of course, it's Florida and everything grows easily and becomes lush foliage very, very quickly. And so a few mornings, Peter and I actually went for runs around the subdivision. I think of all of the roads, this part here with on the curve is my favorite. Just where the trees are lush and arching over
Oh, it's finished fast.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Palm trees. And whatever those palmy things are that grow everywhere like weeds.
How many things?
Yeah.
Youngster aloe plants. Oh, they're scaring the people on bicycles.
Yeah. Good morning.
And that's a neat feeling. The feeling of running around what could be a subdivision in anywhere in North America, really, and feeling comfortable running and not having sweaty clothes when you're running sticking to you, and waving at the people as they are up in the morning having their coffee or picking up their newspapers. It all seems so much more civilized. I know that some people think that being nude is somehow primitive and savage, but it feels so much more human and natural as we were running around their residential neighborhood at Cypress Cove. We ran, of course, but there was also lots of other activities for people who like to play tennis, for example. There's a number of tennis courts, and you could also obviously swim. You could work out in the gym. So lots of things to do, and certainly the kids could have been there a whole week without ever leaving and have been happy discovering and playing with all the nature and things they could do. And there's a beautiful playground for them as well. And of course, the pool is incredibly attractive for children. But sometimes as adults, it's nice to have a little time on our own. And we had one night where we left all the kids in charge of my eldest son, who's 13 years old. He became the babysitter. And we went out for a nice dinner at the Lakeside Restaurant, which is a full-service sit-down restaurant, white tablecloth, linen, and everything else. And had a very nice dinner. The food was quite good. I mean, it certainly, it probably wouldn't win any awards as a restaurant, but it would stand up to any good family restaurant I've ever been to, and the food was quite tasty, and we had a nice glass of wine and some drinks before and after dinner. And we enjoyed it, and it was really nice. It was really nice, again, to not have to put on the clothes, to not have to have the pretense, and it really showed that you could have a nice, comfortable evening out with all of the normal trappings you would expect, but you don't need to have the ties and all of the stuff. I mean, sometimes it might be fun to get dressed up, I guess, but most of the time you feel you do it because you have to, and here it was just as fun and romantic and lovely to get away and feel pampered as anywhere else, except it just felt a little bit more comfortable. Cypress Cove has actually been around for a long time. It just started as a regular small club with actually not very much. I talked to Dean Hadley because it was Dean's late father and mother who purchased the land and started the club. And Dean came with them when they did that and moved in. He was a teen as the club was being built from the ground up. And so I sat down with Dean to get the history.
My folks joined Sunny Palms Lodge down in south of Miami. Not the sunnier Palms that's now up in Fort Pierce, but the original Sunny Palms back in 1949. And in the late 50s, I believe it was in 57, the longtime managers, they had been there since the beginning, pretty much the beginning, I believe, and the club was about 10 years old by that point. They left to pursue other interests, and the owner, being absentee, living in Philadelphia, he hired managers, and they weren't always successful. My dad wound up being heading up an advisory committee that acted as liaison between the owner and managers. And that put him close enough to the management of the club that he really thought that he knew how it should be done. and always thought, if I had my own club, this is what I'd do. And basically, he, eventually came to the conclusion that he was going to have his own club. And in the early 60s, just serendipity, they were visiting friends in Orlando and found the property that is now Cypress Cove and looked at it and said, this is our club. They weren't really planning to do it at that point. They were going to wait until a little bit later in their lives, but all of a sudden it was here, and they said, you know what, we got to jump at it. And here we are.
So it was already a club when your parents bought it?
Oh, no. It was a raw, an orange grove with a bit of cleared land on a lakefront. That was it. The 60 acres, and about 15 of that was actually lake, of the 50 to 60 acre lake.
And how old were you at that time?
Well, the time that we bought it, that they bought it, I was still 14, but I was 15 when we moved up here, and 16 when the club opened.
And so how was that? Suddenly you were living in a naturist club, and this was your life.
Yeah, I'd never really had any problem with it. It was, it was kind of off to a new adventure. I'd lived in Miami all my life, and I had little concern about leaving Miami, but thought, well, what the heck, it'll be something new and different, and I liked Kissimmee immediately upon arriving here. So it's been my home ever since.
So what was it like in the beginning? Like you said, it was just a little bit of clear land and orange grove and a lake. How did it go? How did it start?
Well, during the year and a half or so that before, from original purchase to actual opening the club, my folks in the first year, my folks would visit and just kind of enjoy the lake, and we had nudist friends that would come and visit up from Miami or from a Tampa area that because of Lake Como, we had a number of friends over in that area. And but then after a year, we actually moved up full time, and then it was getting, preparing the property in earnest, and that meant putting up a little bathhouse so that we had those facilities. And there was a single wide mobile home on the property with a screen room, and that was the office and snack bar initially. That little bathhouse was the only new construction other than a fence, which just really surrounded just a very few acres right on the lakefront. And that was it. That was the start of the club.
Now, I know there's a lot of naturist clubs that call themselves resorts, and I think in many cases it's a little bit of an overpromise, but I think in the case of Cypress Cove, it definitely is. You can genuinely call yourself a resort. It's lots of rooms, lots of facilities and restaurants all year round. Was that always the vision from the beginning, to go in that direction?
I really can't say for sure exactly what my folks had in mind. I would have to say that of course, visions tend to evolve based on your experience and the changing market and expectations of your customers or potential customers. So, and then one of the big things, we started off basically as a campground, and it was the intention to build a nice nudist campground. I'm sure that they envisioned eventually, because we had the model of Lake Como, which had some fairly nice rooms to rent at that time. So I'm sure that was, on the horizon, whenever it might come up. But the big kick that came was just a couple of years after the club opened up. Disney announced that they were building Walt Disney World. And all of a sudden, this area started to boom, and we realized a lot of people were coming to the area, and it really jump-started the business. So my folks really pushed development, adding campsites, building a tennis court by the late 60s, and when we were about a year old, we had by that time we had built a clubhouse, sort of a clubhouse / snack bar, and it just kind of went from there. Then by the early 70s, they decided, you know what, we really have the potential to do something good here, and they went out and borrowed some money and put in the first paved roads and formal campsites and first few sites of the mobile home park.
It's interesting because most people probably don't realize how before Disney, Orlando was really more of a town than a city, and there was really no tourism to speak of. So it's almost like your family and Disney all had the same idea at the same time.
Yeah. Well, my folks had it was just the location. They found a really nice spot. They never anticipated the kind of development that would occur as quickly as it did.
Oh, that's good. Now, were you always planning on taking over from your folks, or did that come later in life?
No, that came later because through high school, through my 4 years in the military, and then on into college, it was my folks' thing. That was, it was their deal, and I never had any idea of making it my life. But I had actually started college straight out of high school, and then wound up interrupting it for a few years in the Coast Guard, and then came back to was married by the time I got out. Wound up in South Florida, where my wife had family, and we lived there for about a year. Shortly after my son was born, we moved to Cypress Cove, but the reason for doing so was because I was able to go to college and work for my folks and basically have an extremely free-form work schedule. I could go to college any schedule that I needed to, and then work around that schedule, doing things like mowing grass, cleaning bathhouses, picking up garbage. And so that worked out fine, but 3 years later, by the time that I had actually graduated, I sort of thought, why would I want to leave Cypress Cove? So I took my computer degree, put it in my pocket, and been here ever since.
And now Ted has taken over, so we're on the third generation.
Right. Yep.
So was that difficult for you to step back and give up the reins?
No, not at all. No, because he worked as kids do in a family business. He kind of came in and out a few times over the earlier years, but got a little experience outside, actually in the hospitality industry, working for a hotel up on International Drive, and decided he, really wanted to be here and worked for us in a couple of different capacities, basically in the front office. Was front office manager for a while, and I just had kind of included him in more and more decisions and with more responsibility, and it was a pretty easy transition, really. And by the time I was ready to take a little more time off, he was there and stepped up, and it's worked out very well.
Well, and that's great because so many clubs are having problems as the owners get older and there's nobody to take over and no thought has been put into the transition.
Right.
That causes some of them to close because they sell to the highest bidder, which is not always a naturist.
Right.
So under your leadership, there was some really big changes. I mean, you built the hotel units, you built a massive new pool and amenities resort area. That was a lot of money. That's a bit of a risk.
Well, the hotel, the plans for the hotel, moving the office to where the restaurant used to be, and building the new restaurant, and then enlarging the pool area. That was all a long-term plan that was in its early stages, or really to its middle stages, you might even say. But while my dad was still alive, the first 4 villa buildings were built a couple of years before he passed away. Then the first big project that I did was the office expansion, which we actually had designed before my dad died, and we wound up starting construction of it just about immediately after. The restaurant had just opened up, and then within the next year or so, we had built the last of the villa buildings. Then that was all stuff that had kind of been in the pipeline with my dad's input. And then some time went by, a few years, and it was when we did the big pool expansion. Did that in 1999 and 2000. And so while that had been envisioned, there really was no design in mind. And I'll have to say that, the new Cheeks Pool Bar and then the pool expansion was all on my watch.
And so that was a major investment. So was it worth it?
Yeah. Oh, I'd say so. Yeah. The business has grown, and we have lots of events when we fill up the area. That new pool area is quite well appreciated and heavily attended. So we're glad we have it.
But Dean is now retired, and he's passed the torch on to Ted Hadley, and Ted has taken it on, and he's seems to be doing a good job and has lots of plans. So I sat down with Ted to discuss what it's like to run such a large naturist resort, and what he thinks the future of naturist resorts are.
Okay. Cypress Cove is a large family nudist resort in Kissimmee, Florida. We have nearly 300 acres. About half of that is wetland, and the other half is divided among the resort and the mobile home park. We've got a large permanent residence, 225 mobile homes. We have 100 RV units and 84 hotel rooms. We've got a large pool area with 2 swimming pools, 2 hot tubs, gym, boutique, hair salon, game room, clubhouse, nudist library. And then we also have 2 dining facilities, the Lakeside Restaurant, which is on our 50-acre private lake, and Cheeks Bar and Grill, which is right in the middle of that pool area. Additionally, we've got great sports facilities, including sand volleyball, tennis, 6 tennis courts, petanque courts, shuffleboard, horseshoes, mini golf. We have a 9-hole chip and putt golf course that's a lot of fun.
So you said you have permanent residence. This is one place where you can actually live a completely naturist life all year round?
Yes, and a lot of people do. There is a fairly significant portion of our residents that have a home up north as well that they go to during the summer when our summers get a bit torturous. But there's certainly no better place to be in the wintertime. And our residents are just packed full, as well as our RV park and our hotels during the wintertime.
So how many members, visitors, what kind of numbers do you do here at the park?
It's difficult to track visitors, but we certainly have in the area of 3,000 members, and well over half of that is full members, which are, that's our most expensive membership, but that's also the membership that's represents people that are here a lot, that either live in the area, live in the park, or camp long term.
And it looks like from going through the campground that most of your campsites are full. So if you want to come camping here with your RV or your tent, do you need to make reservations?
Oh, definitely make reservations. Tenting is a little different. We have an area that we call overflow on the lake, and we've never turned anybody away from overflow. If you can dry camp, then we always have a spot available at Cypress Cove. We'll put you in somebody's front yard if we have to. But as far as our facility services go, it's mostly full hookup. We do have some water and electric only sites. They are, a high percentage of them are booked long term, both in the winter and the summer, which reduces the availability of weekend sites quite a bit. There are more available during the summertime, certainly, than the winter. In the winter, we have a large, very large waiting list. People often wait years before they're able to get a 6-month site in the wintertime. The summertime is booked fairly heavily as well by long-termers, but the market is different. They tend to be, many of them are people who live what we call drive distance, 2 to 3 hours from the resort, and they'll set up their motorhome for the long-term camping period, but they work, and then they'll come out on the weekend, and the advantage is that they don't have to tow a camper back and forth. They have kind of a permanent home away from home during those summer months.
So clearly, it sure looks like it's a very successful and hopefully profitable business. Would you say, in this day and age where a lot of other resorts and naturist clubs are closing, they say for financial reasons, is it possible to be a financially successful naturist resort?
Oh, definitely. I would say we have grown more and more financially successful and independent over the years. As we've grown, we've really evolved into a position where we have a very varied business model. We've got memberships, RV, hotel, mobile home park, and even when one of those takes a dip due to economy or other weather, other factors, we have sections of the resort that are still going to do well no matter what. The mobile home park is going to produce steady revenue no matter what the weather's like. Wintertime is going to be busy kind of no matter what, We are shielded quite a bit from the economy in that respect, and we've continued to do well. We are not 100% debt-free. We were on schedule to be debt-free until we had those nasty hurricanes in 2004, and discovered that we were woefully overinsured and underinsured at the same time, paying far too much for insurance that covered far too little and repaid far too little. So we had a lot of expenses in rebuilding from the damage from the 3 hurricanes that hit us all within 6 weeks. The most expensive item of which was our brick wall that we wrapped around the front of the resort. That's something that we'd always wanted. Previously, we had a 10-foot tin wall that was affectionately referred to as a junkyard fence. And it was certainly functional and served its purpose for many years, but we were never proud of it. We were never happy with the way that it looked. And particularly in recent years, the area that the resort is located in has really grown. And we felt it was, rather than spend money to repair a fence that we weren't happy with, it was time to spend money to build something that we'd be proud of. And so we did, but it was costly. Mm-hmm. Since then, we've really invested a lot into the resort. In the 1990s, the latter part of the 1990s, we expanded our pool area, built a second pool, built the gym, the hair salon, the massage parlor, added Cheeks in 96. And then 2004, we added the brick wall. We've upgraded all of our camping to 100 amp service, which was needed desperately, but terribly expensive. Mm-hmm. And one of those things that, the campground's full anyway, so it's not really a payback. It's just something that needed to be done. Currently, we just finished resealing our roads. We are in the process of revamping our utilities, which is another, we have independent utilities, water and sewer, and it's an expensive project, but and another one that doesn't really pay back from the guest point of view, but is needed to keep the longevity of the resort. We've just in the process of finishing wrapping a seawall around the lakefront, which looks really nice and protects from erosion. So, I would say in the last 10 to 15 years, we've spent millions of dollars in reinvesting in the resort, making sure that the facilities are top-notch. We've refurbished the hotel, we've refurbished the restaurant, And we are one of the few large resorts that's still family owned and owned by the same family for the history of the resort. And we do get concerns from people that say, well, how do we know that that you're not going to sell? They're relying on the Hadley family running Cypress Cove the way that they're accustomed to it being run. And our answer to that is just look at all the money we've invested in the resort in recent years. And my father built a large, beautiful home right on the lake. I built a house just outside the resort where my kids could kind of have the best of both worlds. And the message to all of our members and residents in the world is that we're not going anywhere.
So, but what would you say to the people who would tell you that, there's more money to be made if you go textile, traditional campground, or?
Well, I would say that's, as far as campground goes, that's just not true. In Florida, most campgrounds, textile campgrounds, are dead in the summertime. They're busy during the winter because the snowbirds come down, but there's not much market for a campground in Florida during those hot summer months. And we maintain over an 80% occupancy average during those hot summer months when other campgrounds are just empty. So the nudist market is a fantastic boom for us, particularly in the RV park, over a textile RV resort.
What about over a textile resort for rooms and that kind of thing?
Again, I think, this area tends to boom in the wintertime and be a bit slower during the summertime. We follow that. We are certainly much more crowded during the winter months, particularly February, March, April, than we are in July, August, September, when the weather is a bit more extreme. There's concerns of hurricanes and afternoon thunderstorms and that. But we are, a large first-class nudist resort. We're the only one within an hour-plus drive in this area. We're the only large resort of our kind in the Central Florida area. And there's a lot of nudists that really appreciate what we have to offer. And I think this resort, this land, is far more valuable as a naturist resort than any other sort of business you could put here.
You're also the only family-oriented naturist resort nearby that's 20 minutes away from Disney.
That's true. Disney is just the top of the list of tourist attractions in this area. It's funny, we've tried over the years to really tap into that family tourist market. And, while there are people that come and stay, particularly in the wintertime, for 2 or 3 weeks, and they'll take their kids to Disney, the reality is that Cypress Cove is a destination resort of its own. And far more people come to Cypress Cove and don't go to Disney than come to Cypress Cove and go to Disney. I think the people that come down for a short-term vacation with their kids and want to go to Disney prefer to stay on Disney property and really make a Disney vacation out of it. And the people that come down and want to make a nudist vacation out of it stay at Cypress Cove and don't spend much time at Disney.
Well, interestingly enough, actually, our kids, as much as we had a good time at Disney yesterday, don't want to be at Disney the whole time. They're having such a great time here. So it's it is a great family naturist resort. There's the beach, there's the pools, there's a playground, which you don't see, strangely enough, in a lot of the naturist resorts anymore. What about that side of the business? There are other large resorts that have gone to a more adult theme or even right away from naturist values. Is that still a viable business, or do you think that there's more money in the other area?
Well, certainly over in Tampa, a couple of the clubs over there have recently withdrawn from their charters from Anner and gone to a bit more adult-oriented, lifestyle-friendly business. And, they're prospering. I mean, they're doing well in that market. I think that we're proud to be counter-programming to that. Cypress Cove has always been traditionally a very family-oriented nudist resort, a very conservative nudist resort, far more so than even some of the smaller clubs. We try not to be overly restrictive, but we adhere very strongly to our naturist values. I was brought up in this resort. You know, I was raised in Cypress Cove, raised with conservative family naturist values, and I just shiver at the thought of of ever allowing any sort of sexualization of our nudist park. We don't allow lingerie. I know a lot of clubs do. They have fun with that, but it just opens the door to behavior that we're not comfortable with, that I'm not comfortable with. I think, in a way, what's happened in Tampa almost helps to differentiate us from those resorts. It creates a clearer line between the nudist experience that you want and that you'll get when you come to Cypress Cove versus those clubs over there. And, there's a lot of naturists that kind of have one foot in both worlds, and that's okay. When they feel like letting their hair down and being a little bit naughty, there's places to do that. And when they feel like relaxing by the pool and being in a very safe, comfortable, relaxing, conservative nudist environment, they come to Cypress Cove. And we're happy to provide that opportunity.
That's very good. I actually met some people from the UK. Do you get a lot of visitors from Europe and other parts of the world?
We do. I think Cypress Cove follows a little more closely what European naturists expect from a nudist resort. They tend to have similar conservative and/or family-friendly values, and they, if they're going to travel all this way, they'd like to find a full-featured resort. And I think Cypress Cove fits very well into that market. And so we do get a lot of particularly British, German, Dutch, some French. But we do. And we love those people because they tend to stay for, 3 weeks at a time, where Americans traditionally vacation for 1 to 2 weeks, particularly working families. It tends to be 1 week at a time. In Europe, traditionally, vacations are longer, and that works well for us. We're happy to have a hotel room booked for 3 weeks. And we've adjusted some of our marketing efforts to that. We're offering, during our low season, we're offering a 3rd week free package in our villa to, to attract people to stay during the times when it's a little slower here. And that long-term stay really benefits us at those times. And so we provide a financial incentive for them to choose that time to visit.
Well, that's all for this episode of the Naturist Living Show. Thank you again for listening. You can find links to all of the items that I've mentioned in the show in the show notes on the website, which is found at naturistliving.bareoaks.ca. Please keep sending your comments and suggestions. I really do appreciate them. I really do. And I got a few more after the last show. One actual criticism, which I might read a little later in another show, and lots of compliments as usual, which of course keep me going. So I appreciate it. Thank you. The show's email address is naturistliving@bareoaks.ca. That's BARE oaks.ca, of course. naturistliving@bareoaks.ca. So join us again in about a month for the next episode of the Naturist Living Show.
This episode of the Naturist Living Show was brought to you by Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park. Traditional naturist values in a modern setting. Traditional values means that naturism is more than just taking your clothes off. It is a life philosophy with physical, psychological, environmental, social, and moral benefits. Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park strives to promote those naturist values in a modern setting that provides the amenities and services that our members and visitors expect. Free your body, free your mind. Learn more at www.bareoaks.ca.